People ask me, what will work? I say, look at your own life. What worked and what didn't work? When was it good? When did it change? When did it change? So it's about morality. And until the morality comes back to this country, nothing is going to change. There's not going to be a leader that's going to come out riding on a white horse. It's about each individual. It's about you. It's about who you are. Stop pointing the finger at somebody else. What are you doing every day to make your life better and other people's? For me, hell is taking that last breath and knowing that you weren't the person who you said you were.
On June 3rd, 2014, I went to the polls to vote in the California primary elections. At least, I think I voted.
Hello. Good, how are you? Swing. Yeah.
Alright, guys.
I saw Neil Kashkari on the ballot, a former employee of Goldman Sachs and one of the conspirators behind the bank bailouts.
You were asked a question about whether or not you thought a $3 million bonus to an executive at AIG was excessive. And from my understanding of the answer that you gave to Mr. Sherman, your answer was no. Is that correct?
Congressman, my answer was, I don't have a number in my head that says this is an appropriate bonus level, and that is not.
Well, does anybody have a number in their head when we spend $125 billion worth of taxpayers' money on AIG?
I also saw Leland Yee, the notorious gun grabber who was caught trying to sell weapons to international organized crime.
Of these particular kinds of weapons, I want to do that. Ultimately, my job is to protect the children and the residents of the state of California.
It is extremely important that individuals in the state of California do not own assault weapons.
The Bay Area's highest-ranking politicians. Now, State Senator Leland Yee is in federal custody. Beginning early this morning, the FBI conducted a series of raids across Northern California, eventually arresting 19 men with crimes ranging from selling drugs and weapons to murder for hire.
There were a couple of good candidates on the ballot, like Robert Newman and Orly Taines. I had to write in a few because I refused to vote for political parties anymore.
Did you want the receipt?
Yeah. What is the receipt for? I was...
Just for personal record, I guess, or to call in and make sure your vote was counted.
Oh, okay.
So do you want it?
Yeah. Can I make sure that it was like, does it show like who I voted for?
No.
No?
Just make sure that I went through. So that they counted it. That's it?
All right.
Okay. Did you get a sticker?
No, I don't need a sticker. It's okay.
Yeah.
You too.
Automated service, please press 1. To speak to a representative, please press 2 or stay on the line. Your call may be monitored for training purposes.
Your call may be monitored for liberty purposes.
Elections, how may I help you?
Hi, I wanted to make sure, how do I make sure that my vote got counted? Like I got my receipt from my ballot.
Okay, I can check to see if that has been processed.
Okay.
Did you do a vote by mail?
No, just I went to the, to the polling place on Tuesday.
Oh, it gets counted as soon as you put it in the machine.
Like, because they gave me a little receipt, said I could make sure that it got processed. So how do I make sure they got processed?
Well, did you feed it through the machine?
Yeah.
Okay, so that would have been processed.
Is there any way, I mean, how do I make sure though? That the machine was working properly?
Okay, so you're then talking about a certain precinct then, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so let me transfer you to our precinct department in one moment.
Passing the buck.
Election Assistant Helen, may I help you?
Hi, I went to vote on Tuesday. I wanted to how do I make sure that my vote got counted?
Your provisional ballot counted or VBM ballot counted?
Well, I went there in person, so whichever one that
Okay,
is.
so you voted in person and you put your ballot through the scanner?
Yeah, and they gave me little receipts that I could, call in and make sure that it got counted.
Okay, because the receipt's only for provisional voters. That's why I'm a little confused, because if you voted through the scanner, then it counted.
Well, like, the top of the ballot, you tear that little part off. It's got a tracking number on the top.
There's a serial number?
Yeah.
Yes.
So, like, how do I make sure that, my ballot got counted?
Your ballot, if you fed your ballot through the scanner, then it counted.
Well, how do I make sure, like, I know it went through, but how do I make sure the machine actually counted it? Like, I saw it go through, but how do I make sure it actually got counted?
We do what's called the 1%, where we check to see, we go manually through 1% of the precincts to make sure that what the scanners read is what was actually marked on ballots. So there's no way for me, once the ballot is in the box, there's no way for me to identify which one's yours, because you took the stub off.
But it's got a number that matches on the ballot, that matches my stub.
What number?
There's two, I don't know which one it is. It's either 45016.
Okay, that's the precinct number, that's on every ballot.
So it's PCT 42932.
That's the precinct number. Every ballot that was issued in that precinct has that number.
So you can't, there's no
So
way
the
to...
only way the serial number is not on the ballot itself, it's only on the stub that is detached. So there's no way for you to reconnect yourself to any of the ballots that are in that box.
So there's no way to know that my vote actually got counted.
If it went through the scanner, then it counted.
But how do I check the machine that it worked?
Well, that's why I'm explaining. We do what's called the 1%. So that shows we do a manual tally, meaning we look at every ballot that went through the scanner to see if it matched what the scanner says it recorded.
Well, you only do that for 1% of the ballots. How do I...
Correct.
Like,
And if the 1% is good, then we apply that to the rest of the scanners.
well, why do you guys keep...
That the machines.
Like, why do you guys keep the paper ballots then if you can't go back and, verify that my vote actually got counted?
Okay, well, sir, I don't understand how you expect us to do that. Okay, basically we have to find which precinct you went to and do a manual recount of that. Would that satisfy you?
What?
Would that be satisfactory to you?
Well, I just want to make sure that my vote got counted. Isn't that normal?
Your vote counted. If it went through the scanner, it counted.
How
I mean,
it's...
unless you just don't trust our scanners.
Well, I don't trust the scanners. That's why I'm calling.
Okay. So what is exactly that you want me to do?
Well, I just find, like, the guy at the ballots that I could, the ballots that I could, call in and make sure that my vote got scanned and processed.
I don't understand. Okay, because the only ones that where we ask people to call in are the provisional voters. Because those are the ones where their eligibility was not determined at the polls, where they had to cast a ballot, put it in an envelope, have it come to our office to verify that they hadn't voted anywhere else and they were eligible to vote. Then we could open that envelope, count the ballot, and then they could call and say, did my ballot count or not? Because it wasn't counted election day.
Right,
Didn't go through the scanner election day.
So, okay. So what, I have another question. What about, like, the mail-in ballots? Are those, is basically treated the same way as, like, how are those treated differently?
The BBM ballots are in ID envelopes, and the voter signs the envelope. We scan the envelope, we if the ballot, that's the person who voted that ballot. If there's no signature, then we can't count the ballot. If the signature doesn't match, then it's challenged.
So can the
But once we determine that that's the voter signed that ballot, we open the envelopes, and it's just as before. We started to separate the ballot from the person who cast it. It's put into batches and put through scanners that we have here.
Okay, so if next time I wanted to check that my vote got scanned properly, should I vote by mail next time or do a provisional ballot, or what would you recommend?
Well, one way or another, it's going to go through a scanner. Whether it's at a polling place or it's the scanners that the VVM ballots are scanned on, or even once the provisional ballots are okay to scan, it's going through a scanner.
For all of them, you just do the 1%, is what I'm asking, I guess.
Well, the 1% again is to verify the accuracy of the scanners. It's like what scanned at the polls is when we ran it again against our machines here, the numbers match, and when we look at the ballots themselves and go through each and every contest, it ran all of the ovals.
So just out of curiosity, do you know how long that takes to do 1%? I'm just curious.
1%?
Yeah.
I'm not quite certain how long it's going to take because they just started it today.
Oh, okay.
Because there's certain precincts they've assigned, and any polling place that was issued 2 scanners, say that there was some type of scanner difficulty during the day, those are automatically part of our manual tally.
Okay.
Okay.
So do you know how long it took last election?
No, because I wasn't involved in it.
Okay.
It's another section entirely.
Okay.
So, I mean, it's going on now. I mean, this is the kind of thing that, if somebody wants to come in and observe it, they can. Because, as I said, I don't know why the precinct officer said that you can check to see if it counted or not, because it should have counted there. Unless they put it in an auxiliary bin or something.
Well, he asked if I wanted my receipt. I said, what's the receipt for? He said, you could keep it for your personal records. You could call in to make sure that your ballot was processed correctly.
Yeah, that doesn't sound right, but okay. I mean, it is your receipt that you voted that day.
Okay.
But
and it just
in terms of the scanner itself, the M100 has a display screen, and it shows that if a ballot gets rejected, it spits it out. And it's like if somebody were to try to vote for more than one candidate in a contest, in order to vote for one, it would beep and say there was an overvote, and it would spit the ballot back out. But if the ballot was accepted into the scanner, it counted the ballot.
So if I wanted to, just to confirm, if I wanted to know, for my specific ballot that it got processed correctly, you'd have to do a recount for the entire precinct.
Well, I mean, I don't know other way to do it. I mean, because once it's in the ballot box, there's no way to identify which one was yours.
Okay.
Okay. Like I said, if you voted provisionally, then you'd be calling 29 days afterward to say, okay, did my ballot count or not?
Okay, and so if I did...
I mean, if it's that particular to you to know that your ballot was counted,
well, yeah,
you
that's...
have to vote provisionally, but generally, if you're at the polling place where your name is in the roster, you sign the roster, they're going to issue a regular ballot, they're not going to put it in, make it provisional. Usually the reasons why people vote provisionally is because they didn't have a vote by mail ballot to surrender when it says in the roster, hey, this person was issued a ballot.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, we don't want them voting twice.
Yeah.
Okay, or they went to a polling place, where they close to where they work and not where they live.
Right.
So they're not in the roster book at all. So it's like, okay, we'll have you vote provisionally. And once it comes back to our office, we realize, okay, you did not vote at the polling place you were supposed to vote at. Let's count what we can on this ballot. And depending on what's on the ballot, some of that ballot may count, some of it may partially count.
Okay.
Okay?
And so if for the provisional ballots, could they like say could they call when they call in to verify? Could they say, you know, could they make sure that they like the votes were recorded correctly? Like say if they voted for Kashkari, could they make sure that they voted for Kashkari or that it was recorded or anything
No,
like that?
we would be able to, if they called in to say, was my ballot counted, we would either say, yes, it counted, but we wouldn't say which contest counted. Or if it was a partial. How can I help you?
Hi, I was just talking with our Sacramento County elections department because I had questions about how I can actually make sure that my vote was or my ballot was recorded correctly, and they seemed to act like it was kind of a crazy question. So
Okay, so what do you mean you want to know if it was recorded correctly?
like, how can I find out that the people actually voted for, like, that's how it was actually recorded?
Hold on, please. Sir, the county was correct in telling you, as far as your ballot, who you voted for, your ballot is not tied to you, like, based on your name. Like, that, you know, that's anonymous. Basically, what the counties could tell you, and you're going to have to call them for instruction because they process the ballots, not us. They give us the ballot count. Now, they'll be able to tell you if it counted or not, but they can't say, yeah, we looked at John Doe and he voted for XYZ. They're not going to do that. They'll be able to tell you that, yes, we processed your ballot, but they can't, you know, tie that to you, per se. So you're going to have to contact the county. And, you know, once the official canvas is provided to Secretary of State, which is 29 days after an election, they could probably assist you, but we can't assist you here with that. The counties can count those ballots, not us.
They said something about like a secret ballot. What is a secret ballot?
Well, it's anonymous. It's not going to be tied to you by your name, so that's not going to happen, unfortunately. That, you know, they're not going to say John Doe voted for so and so, Jane Doe voted for so and so. It's just going to tell you if your ballot counted. It's not going to be tied to you based on your name.
And so I have to wait 29 days, and then they'll be able to tell me if my ballot was counted.
Yeah, because honestly, the election is not certified until 29 days after an election. They still, you know, just think in terms of they still have to count the ballots, the mail ballots, and so on and so forth, the provisional ballots. They have to determine if people voted more than once. You know, so there's a process that they have to follow. You know, so basically you can either wait that 29 days or, you know, you can go back to your county. Are you with Sacramento County?
Yep.
Okay, yeah. Do you have their, well, I think that you have their number if you talked to them already.
Yep.
Okay, so you just got to be a little more patient.
Okay.
All right, take care.
Thanks. That's it. Now listen here, slave. Don't worry about whether your vote was counted correctly or not. No, the truth is, it's so pathetic how easy it was for these people to just take over our elections. It's one company that runs the whole elections in California. One company, private company. Okay? I mean, you could read about things that have been declassified about how the CIA, all the things the CIA had to do to manipulate elections in third world countries. I mean, they had to murder people, assassinations, kidnappings. They had to run psychological warfare 24/7 for years and years and years. They had to have, you know, spy networks on the ground, source networks. I mean, and then here, they just, hey, we made a machine that'll count the votes for you, so you don't have to do it anymore. Oh, okay. Just like that. Who knows if my vote was counted? I don't know. Apparently, the ballot is so secret that I can't even know who I actually voted for. California uses voting machines produced by ES&S, Election Systems and Software, which is a subsidiary of McCarthy Group, LLC, a private company owned by Michael R. McCarthy, someone who has donated thousands to Democrats in past elections, as well as other political insiders like U.S. Secretary of Defense and former McCarthy Group employee Chuck Hagel. Who else at ES&S is running our elections? The Senior VP of Government Relations at ES&S is a woman named Kathy Rogers, who previously worked for Diebold, and before that worked for Georgia's Democrat Secretary of State as the Director of Elections. While she was in Georgia, she helped usher in the statewide use of electronic voting machines, even though these were known to leave no auditable paper trail.
Kathy Rogers, Director of Elections. As one who was intimately involved in the process in 2002, I would like to respectfully, I'll say disagree, but give you my personal opinion on what was available in 2002 versus technology today. At the time that we researched what was available in 2002, and I was on the 21st Century Voting Commission authorized by the General Assembly for that purpose, there were no voting systems that produced a voter verifiable paper audit trail.
Are we simply at the mercy of this corporation? What about our own Secretary of State, Deborah Bowen?
A great reformer, both for consumers, for the environment, but also for election reform. I give to you our Secretary of State, Deborah Bowen.
Well, you know, I always think, when I'm listening to these speeches, I always think about what's different and what's the same.
Well, she's also a Democrat. In fact, California has had a Democrat for Secretary of State since 1970. How are we supposed to have fair elections when Democrats are in charge of the election statewide?